I reckon, I'm not sure 100% on this, but in God Is, his voice is very raspy. It sounds almost like he's thirsty. And yeah, I just wonder if there's a link between that and the previous track being called Water.
It might be a possibility, okay.
Yeah, I'm not 100% on that, but I like to think that's the connection. I think that makes me enjoy the album a bit more. I think that could be something that is true. Kanye is someone who likes to sort of plan tracks like that.
Fair enough.
I really love Water though. I think this is a great track. I find it very dreamlike. I feel like this is something I can listen to while I'm falling asleep, and I'll I don't know, you just feel at peace. You know, sometimes you go to bed, you feel a bit anxious. I don't know, I get that sometimes. I feel like listening to this, I can just get it all out. It's,
Yeah, okay. Well, there's still some things that seem they need to be decoded in here.
Sure.
Anne Clemens says, clean us like the rain in spring, take the chlorine out of conversation.
Yeah.
That doesn't make heaps of sense to me because I don't have a pool, but if you put chlorine in something, usually it's to clean it.
Yeah.
So what's he saying?
Oh, look, I really like that. It took me a while just to think about it. It's one of the most intriguing lines I think on the album. But chlorine is something you put into water because you think it's going to make it clean, make it the way you want it to be. But actually, you're just replacing one thing with another thing, aren't you? So you've still got that chlorine that's there and it stings your eyes and the rest of it. And is that the best you can do? No, actually it's not. So Kanye says actually there is a way, as it were, to take chlorine out of the water of our life and we can just be clean without the need for this other thing. And of course it's God that does that. That's the whole point, isn't it? Because he's saying, you know, you do it, take the chlorine out of that conversation. That you like reflect on me.
That's pretty technical.
Well, but I think that's what's going on, and it's all about, again, it's about his words. So it's out of our conversation about the things that we're talking about, all these sort of things. And he's saying God. And he's loving it. I mean, you're right, it's a beautiful piece of music. It just is really lovely to listen to.
Yeah, well, moving on to God Is, Hoya, what are you seeing in Kanye's character? I mean, the words he's saying in his tone, do you see something here that you just haven't seen beforehand?
Yeah, so Kanye normally will use auto-tune when he's singing. There's only a small amount of times where he hasn't, and here he hasn't used auto-tune. And I've heard a lot of commentary on this track, people saying, oh, Kanye should have had a cup of water before he sang it, or he should have used auto-tune. I even thought that at one point, like, man, could you have waited till you weren't sick and would have sounded better. But I think the raspiness of the voice adds something to it. It adds this vulnerability. He's like, I don't care if my voice sounds like crap, I'm just going to sing God's praises.
Maybe it's just sung it so many times. He's almost done singing, but he can't stop. Yeah.
Well, it could be that too. And I think one thing I really like here is I'll start from here. I can't keep it to myself. I can't sit here and be still. Everybody, I will tell till the whole world is healed. And you've seen Kanye on all these talk shows recently. He's just been sharing the gospel.
Yeah.
He's just been talking about what Jesus done for him, how he was, weighed down by the guilt of his sin, how he had to repent, and now he has a personal relationship with God. He's on Jimmy Kimmel declaring the gospel. He was on Zane Lowe. He was in an interview with Zane Lowe. I didn't watch the whole interview, but I would assume he did the same thing. He did an interview with Big Boy where he talked about how he was, a porn addict and how that was affecting him, and then repenting of that, and then talking about how Jesus has forgiven him and that he realized that's all about God. It's not about him. And then what was it that James Corden, the
flying thing, yeah.
That was amazing. Oh.
So you liked it, did you?
I loved it. And then at the end, where he's like, oh, what do you say to? Oh, actually, no. Let's go into that in hands-on. Actually, let's say that for later.
Well, I got some more stuff for you. Between both of the songs, he speaks about his family in a really. I think it's quite beautiful. In Water, he says, "Pure as water, like a newborn daughter." And in God Is, he says, "This my kids, this my crib, this my wife, this my life." And he's saying it passionately. For either of you, is this something new? Does he talk about his family like this?
Yeah, so it's really interesting. Not just, the Chick-fil-A song's got a bunch of it as well. He's now very protective of his family. It's like he's almost stepped up as a man, isn't it? I mean, he's always been about, as I understand it, he's always been about the black community, and we've got to do things better, and we've got to find better ways of responding to things. But it was fascinating. He had the Jimmy Kimmel interview, I think he said, there was a bit of a clip of his daughter dancing away at their Sunday service stuff. And he said something, he said, look, it's been in a year I've really changed how I think about my daughter, and now he's much more protective. He's this idea of raising her up the right way and wanting to do that, and so this notion of this purity is not just something he wants and celebrates in himself. He's really desirous, first of all, for those around him that he's responsible for them to see it too. Yeah, it's lovely to see it.
Okay, so we hear it, but Puya, you might see it. Do you feel like this is the case for him?
Yeah, well, just touching on what you said before about his family, a year ago, Jimmy Kimmel asked him, has having daughters changed the way you view women? And his response was, nah, I still watch Pornhub. And he just lists out all the stuff he searches up. And my heart shattered. Oh, like, I'm a Kanye fan. It's just hard. It's really sad when you see people you admire, you really respect, artists, when they say things like that, things that you really disagree with as well on a moral level. And then to see him a year later on Jimmy Kimmel, and Kimmel asking that same question, you know, well, Kanye bring it up actually, and I don't think Kimmel even asked it. Kanye said a year ago, in a year's time, my views changed, you know. I realized that was wrong, that's not, you know, how I want to raise my daughter, that's not who I want to be. And this to me is just such an encouragement, because he's so humble in this as well. You know, he released a song on Jesus called I Am a God, and now he's saying that Jesus is the King of Kings, Lord of Lords. God is the force that picked me up. I don't know, it's just like, there's so much on
It's celebratory, isn't it? It's almost like, as I was listening, I was thinking, this would have been a nice place to land the album. Like, it's almost at the end, isn't it? Like, this is a mission, not a show. Like, that's it. We're all good.
That's the accusation of Sunday service, right?
Yeah.
It's just this, you know, show's just trying to make money. He's selling like $50 socks, but...
is he?
Yeah, he did.
We've still got to talk to him about that, I think.
Yeah, that's kind of getting... I was a bit skeptical when he did that in April, but I think recently I've come around. But one thing I found fascinating, Kanye's an innovator. He's always said, I want to innovate, not imitate. And he's been talking about how now is the time of Christian innovation. And I definitely see him trying to use Sunday service as a way of innovating church and using that to bring the gospel to people who wouldn't really be open to listen to it. I mean, Brad Pitt's been going to Sunday service, and he's been loving it. And he's not a Christian. He's from a Christian background, but I think he didn't want anything to do with it. It wasn't really for him. But now he's going to Sunday service. And I was listening to one of the Sunday service recordings, and Kanye's pastor, who's like this reformed guy, he did a really simple but straight to the point gospel sermon. So all these people, all these celebrities, all these people who turn up to these Sunday services to sing songs and have a good time are actually hearing the gospel message.
Okay.
And that, to me, I love that. This is a mission, not a show. Yeah.
Yeah, do you see this innovator Kanye in this album? Because the way he uses language, it seems like he does plays on words and he can subvert words and meanings. But is he doing that here with, I mean, David, maybe you can speak more on this. Is he doing that with the Bible here? Is he innovating on the Bible?
No, I don't think he is, and actually that's why I love it so much. Like, so he had me at the first track with lyrics, right? I mean, I'm glad I said the first one doesn't count. I mean, it does, but it's just the intro, right? But he had me right at the start with Salah, because the stuff he was pumping out. I think he handles the Bible really well. You see it here again. Every biblical allusion, I'm going, yeah. I think you've got that spot on. So, for example, here, all the captives are forgiven, time to break down all the prisons. It's a straight quote from Isaiah 61, where this one called the servant says, the Spirit of the Lord is upon me, has anointed me to proclaim good news to the poor, and then to set the captives free, to bind up the brokenhearted. Jesus appropriates that for himself in a place called Capernaum in the north of Israel. In Luke chapter 4, he reads that out and he says, "This is fulfilled here today amongst you." And so it's just a great example of where the way that Kanye uses it is the way that I think I'm a fairly biblical literate man. That's my job. That's what I get paid for here, to read the Bible and explain it. I've not seen anything on this album where I just go, I do not know why you've used the Bible in that way. In fact, I just think he's just got a thoroughly good grasp of it and using it really well and really creatively. I'd love to hear him preach one day.
Yeah, okay. Well, lastly, Kanye uses this captive language, and he says, he's saying, bow to dead religion, Jesus brought a revolution, all the captives are forgiven. He started the album talking about soldiers, but he's sort of changing the sort of language here. Do you see what he's doing? How is he using this captive language?
For me, I'm not sure that he's changing the language. I think he's just back to that slavery and freedom from slavery motif, which he's big on anyway, because you've got this stuff about the 13th Amendment. I don't tend to understand him well on that amendment banning slavery, and he's got some views on how black people actually continue to enslave themselves in the way that they deal with stuff. in America. I know he gets into trouble for that. That's Trump Kanye, isn't it?
Yeah,
goes there. But here he's using that motif in the way that the Bible uses it. That God speaks of us like prisoners, like slaves who have been freed, and it uses the great story of the Exodus. Where the whole of Israel is enslaved in Egypt and then freed by God as the great setup for that idea that then runs all the way through the Bible. So he's just picking up on it and then using biblical text in the way that the Bible itself uses that idea to speak of this freedom. If you like, it's another way of talking about the purity of the washing that he's talked about in the previous track, right? So there he talks about we're washed, we're pure as water. That's one image that the Bible uses, that we're cleaned by God. Another image that it uses is that we're slaves that are set free. I think he uses that one more because he's more familiar with it. It taps into the black thing he's done also, but also it taps into that social warfare thing where actually he sees a world around him enslaved to things that are wrong. And Jesus has come to one of the things that you get here is he's now been freed. He's been freed from the porn. I think that's good. He's been freed from all these different things. Yeah, it's a very biblical way of using that language.
Right, we're going to move on. We're going to listen to the next song. It's just going to be one for now.